Okay, you guys, I'm giving a heads up today. Maybe I can get some different eyes on this and maybe some different opinions. What do you think? I found this at the Internet Archive. Sorry about all the dust. Today I've noticed this user because I was looking at this article and it took me, somehow I got to this information. Anyhow, I noticed all these uploads today. And so I noticed a lot of words and letters and you know the numerology. Hang on, I gotta let the cat out. This person here has made these many uploads. And if you just simply look at who the uploads are about, this one, especially right here, I looked at, 212 is the Bible God, but we all know about MK. And this PDF actually opens up to a diamond saw. And if you look at his name, well, there's the little devil horns symbology there. And the Godain inbox. So I looked at that. The Godain box is beheading unto X. Or Godain box is I bondage ox. And I'll show you why this kept meaning something to me. Just the very first little upload thing I just looked at, just the title, Westermo Vipers, Time Servers, WOP, and WOP is working on pavement. We all saw that in my live chat the other day. There's a lot of working on the pavement. So he just happened to upload this today. And it says there's no preview available. But when you go to the PDF, it talks about Viper, unmanaged 8-port Ethernet switch, Ethernet. We look at the next one. This goes to Motorola, so I guess radios, hand radios. This, I don't know what all this means, but 1130-659, an Internet Archive Python library. And just out of curiosity, I went to look at the number 850. Event is lit up. If we just look at that Motorola, it's 00 Mortal User Guide. So 00 Mortal, that would be us. There you go, the word mortal, deadly, mortal, fatal, lethal. Then we've got the Mortal Kombat there with the well-known dragon, which dragon anagram is God Ran. Here's the next one that was uploaded today. If you look at Belkin, that's Ink Bell, Bell Ink. And I know Ink is Octopus 8 and Bell is like Tinkerbell. They use that a lot. So here we go, Belkin, Ink, Bell, and Bell is signifying Lord or Master. So that's their user manual there. I'm looking at the next one, Whirlpool, and I could look at RIP Wool, HL, and HL is Kabbalah. There's HL 28/1/2020, and there's Kabbalah. 385 is lumens, and V, you know, is MAGA. V equals 22 equals MAGA. We saw that. MK 1212. Here's AT&T. This opens up to this. It talks about CRLs, that controller. I don't know what that is. If I look at this one as cab A4 spelled out null, this will be the last one I show you guys of this. I'll just leave you the link, but that could be, I looked at that as, it could be Cabal and Furl O or Cabal Fornal. And here's Go Fornal, this little website I saw, and it's Intelligence Connected Logistics, a digital platform for fleet operators. So we have radios, we've got fleet transport, Brandon. It just doesn't stop to seem like it's Amazon Cab, Quiet Side. It just keeps going all today. All these uploads are today. So what is this? Is it just, look at this. And I bet if we stopped and looked at every single one, we're going to find something. Maybe these are signs or messages going out to people who are getting ready to do some kind of moving here. We could keep looking, but I wanted to show you guys something else. So look at here. He has to make his Kobe. I mean, is any of this looking suspicious to you guys or no? It looks strange to me. Anyhow, I'll leave you guys a link, but it is archive.org/details/@ the @ sign Chris CHRIS 85. And he goes by the code name of the Godain inbox with the little devil horn look there. So if anyone wants to go here and look at these things, there's not much to look at. I think these are the codings. There's the number 113. Which are all uploaded today, you guys. Robot Coup. Series D specifications, as in that guy who did the Operation Warp Speed. He mentioned D-Day, the beginning of the end. Here's Cradle Point. Watch your babies. I'm just going to scroll, let you guys see how many uploads he's done all today. Silicon Valley, Craftsman, HP, VTech, ViewSonic. God, audio stuff, Black Box, WinMate. It's just smartphones, Blueberry or Blackberry smartphones, Model Tech, Magnum Energy. Look, and we're still uploading. Where'd it go? They uploaded Wolf, Canon Power Shot. I'm sure that's only for a camera. This is not even what I started to want to show you guys. I have more to show you. These are all his uploads, you guys, today. So something's going on. Something is going on. BioLab. Just going over and looking real quick, reviewing some of those words we saw in all those the Chris 85 downloads. We see Bell equals 19, which is Cabal. 916, which is Ravens. I think I spelled that wrong. It's Ravens. Randon, which we saw in that truck, is 215 and 66, and that equals Attack, Corona, and Die Fast. We saw Cisco, who right now is coming into play with Biden's joining up with them and the Gates Foundation and all that right now. Cisco is one of the downloaded PDFs. You'll see that if you look back. And Cradle Point, we saw that PDF was called Cradle Point, and that's CL Predation. And predation, the capturing of prey for food, the act of robbing, victimizing, and exploiting others. And there you go, there's a little predator there. Anyhow, they show us everything. So also that CL predation, CL equals big E. Does anyone happen to see an E in these clouds? I'll show you some more examples. This is a video I took on January 19th. And look at that E in the sky. I pointed that out. That looks like a big E. And here is My River Runs to Him. She's a subscriber. I'm subscribed to her. And on January 22nd, look, she also shows in the sky the same looking kind of E, the big E. And do you see those 3 bars for Ericsson? It's a communication company. And remember during that Operation Warp Speed discussion about D-Day coming up, the beginning of the end is D-Day, and they had the Department of Health and Human Services. Look at those 3 bars. That's a big E. See, there you go, Operation Warp Speed. Look at that. We've got the 3 bars, we've got the Q, we've got the radiation symbol underneath that little virus look. We've got 4 stars on either side of this circle. Remember 4, the Phao is the evil. So look in here. C, power, predation, P. And P equals Biden or KO. And we already looked at that word. Remember? Operation Warp Speed could also be So Preparation Op, and WES is So West, WES, WSE, whatever. It's upheaval, beast, or liquidity on demand. So take your pick. But there are your E's right there. So what I wanted to show you guys, and I'm going to add another video a little bit later, but this, I think a lot of you guys have seen this. This came up when I was looking for Baphomet because there's a star in my local elementary school, the symbol, and maybe I'll include that video here today. So today, you guys, I started looking at Alice in Wonderland. So when I looked at the Alice in Wonderland, the anagram for that is walled-in ordinance. An ordinance is an authoritative rule or law, a decree or command. Go Ask Alice can be AI lockages. And lockage, operations of locks or a toll paid for such passage. Also look here, lockages during special events, which we're kind of having right now. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Looking at U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Painerizes conformers, and Painerize has a couple, I found a couple of different meanings. One is a festival, and a festival can also be looked at as an anagram as evil fast, and an evil fast could be considered a famine. And panegyrize can also be seen as to eulogize. And a eulogy is a speech written in praise of a person or things, especially one who's recently died. So they're used and given at funeral services, typically at a crematorium. And remember that American Towers, the CBS conglomerate, it's a 5G or communications tower. American Tower is new crematorium. Do you also notice on that queen, besides her heart, the W's on her cuff? And look at the black and white checkerboard on her, right below that round thing on her chest, or it could be an X, but also looks like a checkered board. But the W there at her cuff link there, the W design on the bottom of that rabbit's vest, the V on that lady's headset thing. Notice also the W and V's on that queen's. This is a different illustration, but yet they just, for some reason, happen to have the exact same design. Are you noticing the patterns of all the V's and W's we see throughout this whole illustration? That same shape there, notice this right here, the same shape as those other designs. A decree or command. You talk about a decree or command. Notice all the hearts in Alice in Wonderland. let me just read to you. It says, the Queen of Hearts glaring at Alice, screaming, "Off with her head!" "Nonsense," said Alice, very loudly and decidedly, and the Queen was silent. And I'll explain this part to you a little bit later, but the Queen, we always see the Queen with hearts. Now hearts, the anagram is haters. The number for hearts in gematria is 194 of 52. But look, heart is rabbit, cats, capital, axe, seeds, Catholic, campfire. Remember the Paradise Fires they called the campfire? Probably an energy weapon. Cast, as in castaways, remember that? And then the 25 up here, 25 heart is 25 also. Or I'm sorry, it's 52. So I meant 52. I mean, yeah, 52, but 25 is behead. So I got that messed up, but 25 is behead, but the rest of these are 52. And it's devil, hello, gates, pope, 6, and NWO is 52. 1, flood, corona with an A, not an O, and Boeing, which is also 113. When I looked at the Queen of Hearts, it was Q has 14, and 14 hearts was foul threateners, and foul, nature, spirit, evil of man, sometimes translated as 4. And here's a document. It's an old book, an old PDF file. I'll show you guys, and I'll give it in the links. This was the look of this book. And again, Alice in Wonderland, the anagram, Walden Ordinance, and the novel by Lewis Carroll, he's English, was in 1865. That's 1 + 8 is 9, and 65 is 11, just fact. And this down here reads, it is considered to be one of the best examples of the literary nonsense genre. Talk about nonsense genre. That's exactly what we're dealing with, I think, in our world today. But I wanted to read some from this page that was in the book, and I wanted to kind of break it down just a little bit. But here, notice the 88, card and bear, and Trump as well, along with Sons of Light. That's Lucifer. So this reads, the Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all in a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away. Now for the evidence, said the king, and then the sentence. No, said the Queen, first the sentence and then the evidence. Nonsense, cried Alice, so loudly that everybody jumped. The idea of having the sentence first. Hold your tongue, said the Queen. I won't, said Alice. You're nothing but a pack of cards. Who cares for you? At this, the whole pack rose up to the air and came flying down upon her. She gave a little scream of fright and tried to beat them off, and found herself laying on the bank with her head in the lap of her sister, who was gently brushing away some leaves that had fluttered down from the trees onto her face. So I looked at a couple of these things. So hold your tongue. Hold your tongue. Hunt duology or hunt double meaning gold. So hunt duology or can mean hunt double meaning gold. So it means always look for the second meaning. Don't take things at face value. That's how I took that. And Alice says, you're nothing but a pack of cards. We have incoming helicopter here, but so pack of cards is a dark FCC ops, like FCC, the people who regulate the Communications Commission, Federal Communications Commission, like that. Federal Radio Commission. Okay, it says gently brushing away some leaves. Leaves equals e-slave, like electronic or energy. The E an item. So after Alice stood up and said, you're nothing but a pack of cards, who cares for you, nothing but a dark FCC ops, it says the whole pack rose up into the air and came flying down upon her. That might be some little foreshadowing. And the author, Lewis Carroll, L Sol Air Crew, and L equals caged. So Caged Soul Aircrew. And this 2010, I guess this is a movie or something. So Alice in Wonderland, Alice Kingsley, who they named her Alice Kingsley for this movie, is Why Agencies Kill. Another reason why I thought that this was interesting of Alice in Wonderland was, just look at this again. The Queen of Hearts, Queen of Hates, glaring at Alice, screaming, "Off with her head, off." "Nonsense," said Alice, very loudly and decidedly. So look how Alice stood up to her. And the Queen was silent. So once Alice said something very loudly and decidedly, the Queen was silent. Which will bring me to this document that I found. So this is the Psychological Warfare Casebook. It's a 1958 technical memorandum by William Doherty, Operations Research Office, in collaboration with Morris Janovich, University of Michigan, who they are doing a huge AI city now in Ann Arbor. But look who it was published for. Operations Research Office, the Johns Hopkins University, by the Johns Hopkins Press, Baltimore, 18, Maryland. So this is over an 850-page document. It's got, 894 pages. Talks all about political and psychological warfare. This makes a huge list of what makes, or how, and the steps that propagandists take to be successful. But I'm jumping to page 849, where it basically says, the more hostile the prisoner, the sooner he is released. And then they keep the more domicile prisoners, they keep them and indoctrinate them more into the system. This talks about how they encourage memes, much more convincing to make poster drawings and demonstrations appear like spontaneous acts of local citizens as not to do so. But so they encourage them to make posters, like our Q people are encouraging people to make memes. They talk about social welfare. They state emancipation of women. So give women, which, I mean, I don't really disagree with this, but they say, give the woman more prestige in the family. And then it says, by sowing seeds of doubt within it, because then she goes off and gets a job and gets more away from the family. It also says how there's a divorce. Under the new laws, if the man sued for divorce, he lost half of his property to his wife. And if his wife sued for divorce, she was given all of his property. So it's a little uneven there. And it says, small business was officially encouraged, but actually squeezed to the wall by the, heavy taxes and such official acts as restrictions on supplies. So it's like, yeah, go ahead, open your business, but they make it very difficult to, which I think a lot of sole proprietors have seen that. For more successful psychological warfare, you control the media and motion picture offering. So the same political articles would be sent by the Public Information Office to papers and radio alike. It says here, it's repeated. The movies and their strong ideological content repeated the same line with many of the same illustrations as the newspapers and radio. Thus, audiences of any of the media soon began to feel as if they had heard this before. And we've seen this. It's repetitive, begins being trite, and we've even seen how all those newscasters are reading the same script. This talks about mass media, the first recorded action of the communist occupation forces in connection with the communication system. And guess what? The anagram for communications, a communistic on. Communistic and communications, guess what? They're the same words or letters. It says, propaganda activity appears to have been extended into every sphere of life. They talk here, it says, pressed almost to the point, complete elimination of privacy. So basically the citizens lost privacy. The citizens respond automatically. We've kind of seen that. Great efforts were made through extortion to enlist doctors in hospitals, but resort to persuasion alone was abandoned near the end of the occupation, when all technical experts were rounded up suddenly and taken to North Korea. This is talking about making in North Korea. The leaders of this organization came from North Korea. The sub leader was designated for every village and for every small section of Seoul. It says each leader was made responsible for every house in her district. Her duties were to distribute pamphlets, make speeches, and go from door to door to tell people about the program. Who else is going to be going door to door that we've heard lately? Contact tracers, right? Page 840 here says, every phase of communist organization and policy must be accompanied by premeditated psychological warfare support. The extreme importance that the communist attached to controlling the mind as distinguished from controlling behavior by means of symbol manipulation. We've seen that. How many times have we seen symbol manipulation? Like the hearts. See the hearts there? See the heart in that illustration? This also says, more impressive than the content of the communist propaganda efforts were the range of persons in the official hierarchy who performed propaganda functions. You know how they get people, just like the other day when I was looking at those people rolling out the fiber optics and that they were doing the 5G, but they denied it. And one of the workers, I think his name is Don, denied that 5G had any detrimental effects. He thought that that was just people, fear. Oh, that's just conspiracy theory. This propaganda of warfare, psychological warfare, it says those on the blacklist who could be found were speedily rounded up and quietly disposed of. This part of this document, psychological warfare, it mentions how in another sense there's only one authority, and in this case it's talking about Stalin, and they say that they have to vlast, they call it vlast, I guess. That means authority, power, always behaves as they're the absolute top or summit. And this is where I'm feeling that part of the mountain symbols that we're always shown is part of this, the top and the summit. And the mountain means enumeration, where they're always counting, listing, tracking everything. So when this was talking about vlast, the people, they have to be the leaders, the authority and power, they have to be inscrutable. The vlast for clever and sly and scheming. But inscrutable, difficult to understand or interpret, impenetrable, undiscoverable, incomprehensible, unsearchable, and mysterious. Just kind of like our IRS, like impenetrable. You can't audit them, I guess. I haven't seen them being audited, or the feds. One thing, and one of the big things in here in political and psychological warfare is, here's in Sun Tzu's The Book of War. I know a lot of people have read that. Written in China in the 5th century, stressed the importance of destroying the enemy's will to fight through such means of surprise and noise. In night fighting, Sun Tzu wrote, does it say beacons, or I don't know what that word, I think beacons and drums are largely used. In day fighting, the great number of banners and flags, and the enemy's eyes and ears are confounded. So you noticed, all this street work, all constant helicopter noise, the road noise that the Sweetwater Authority was doing, the electric companies, the communication companies, communications. Oh, let's see, here's something that says about communications. This talks about political communications, and there's something so important here. For some reason they really blocked it out, because this is difficult enough to read, but they've really made an effort to somehow make this so you can't really read it. I will leave the PDF link to this Psychological Warfare Casebook, And they are still doing it, guys. And speaking of Alice in Wonderland, remember the rabbit, the white rabbit? The white rabbit, look at that. Heart, bib, wit. And let's look at bib. Bib, the part of an apron. Look at the apron or bib she's got on. The apron there. She's got an apron there, and usually hands in your pocket mean a secret. So when you look at bibs and aprons, there's the Masonic apron. Look at the all-seeing eye, and we got the letter G there. And G, they say G is used for geometry or the architecture or God, the great architect. But 5G. So let's look at Shriners. International, commonly known, the Shriners, formerly known as the Ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, you know, like the Noble Virus, is a Masonic society established in 1870 and is headquartered in Tampa, Florida. So, Ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles. And they've got the star there. When I look at Shriners, it can be Risers HN or HN Sires. And HN equals, there's those 48, 132, and 22. And Abel, Bean, as in Kobe Bean Bryant, or Bane. Bane is an anti-hero. Damage. 22 equals MAGA, V, died, dock, as in cod, like codfish. And Arab. So, and remember Capitol Hill, till a caliph, right? Leader of an Islamic, that means, I guess, party. Does anybody see how things are kind of starting to add up? You got the Nobel virus here, which is causing all this pandemonium. And that New York Times article. Don't forget about that. Middle East Eye. Deadliest MI. So we're kind of getting back to this about the bear. Because that question, AI downside, breathe hoots. And Hoots is a film talking about Florida. It takes place in Florida, where they are headquartered in Florida. And we see that movie Hoot, theatrical release poster by Will Shriner. Will Shriner. Quickly here, Will is 9, 29, and 44 in gematria. That's Jewish, and then simple gematria. 929 is United States of America. And remember, America is I camera, or American is in camera. Eye of the storm. That's also to foresee them, the toy. To foresee them. Foresee is to look down upon. So to look down upon them, the toy. So like we're the toys. Invaders. Framer Benjamin, as in Benjamin Franklin, one of the framers of the Constitution. And Ashley is God's defense. And remember Ashley Babbitt, that December 6th incident at Capitol Hill? It's also number 201. So, and then remember Capitol Hill, till a caliph. And remember, they're going to be using that incident on that date as an excuse to defend themselves against the people. And 44 equals Ray, Mask, Kill, Judah, Anon, Harp, VV, Clock, FedEx, A Plan, Kabbalah, and Kabbalah can be looked at as Q, Abba, which is Father, Hall. I guess that should be Hal. Q, Abba, Hal. And remember Arthur C. Clarke? He wrote the 2001 Space Odyssey with Hal. And remember how Hal, this is the Space Odyssey, also created by Stanley Kubrick. We all know him. Here's Johnny. He also, you know, according to him, created the Apollo moon landing story as well. Remember, Hal is a sentient. He's a computer that controls Discovery 1 spacecraft. The supercomputer, I guess you could call him AI, after it malfunctions and kills the rest of the crew. Shrines, breath. Shrine definition is a case, a box, or receptacle. And here's our January 20th little pictures going on. Shrine definition is a case, a box, or receptacle, especially one which sacred relics such as bones of a saint are held. And with that Hoot movie, Will Shriner with just one L, which is, I thought, kind of weird. 9/29/44. Heaven Hell Debate, United States of America, Eye of the Storm. 44 is Ray, Mask, Kill, and Karma. And speaking of rabbits also, remember that? Have you guys read that book? Watership Down? Look, another English author, Richard Adams. And I actually loved that book. I read it when I was young. Now the next thing I'm going to show you guys, this is North Idaho Exposed. And he mentioned yesterday, I think it was yesterday, about a grizzly stomps out communist art propaganda. And he talks about how they used to have some sickle and hammer, the communistic symbol, but yet they were nice enough to replace it with a grizzly bear. And I just made a comment on there that the bear isn't all that innocent, symbolically wise. So here I'm showing a lot of information that I got at, this is Wikipedia. So they show the Russian bear, it has the word puck. Look at the crown. Look at all the cards with the crown on them in a pyramid shaped. The House of Cards. Looking at that anagram, House of Cards, is Foul Head Cross. Foul, nature spirit, evil of man, sometimes translated as four. Now this article on Wikipedia talks about Misha, the little mascot. So I'm on the actual page at Wikipedia about the Russian bear, and I wanted to show you. Now they're showing you everything. So Misha as the mascot. So mascot, got mask, mask a scam, mascot, got mask, like got milk, got mask, right in our faces. Look at that. And look at the three. Do you see in this mask, do you see the three bars, like the 3E, like the E that I showed you in those clouds? And also that little mascot, little Misha, little cute little sham Misha. Look how they also use the bear for the predation as a killer. But the mask is all psychological operations, you guys. Okay, back to the program. Bear and Misha is I sham. Sham is a trick that deludes, something false or empty, readily unfaithful. So I looked at this a little bit, and it talked about Ronald Reagan's successful 1984 election campaign, and he mentioned Bear in the Woods. So the Bear in the Woods from Reagan, a bear being a sort of insider joke, is what this article read. But when you look at Reagan, and I looked at Reagan because the Romanized Ruski Medved, the anagram is surveyed SKMD, and the SKMD is Reagan. It's canon, homicidal, tidal, Babylonia, Beast, Time, and Babylon. Now, you know when you think of that woods, like the election campaign that Ronald Reagan mentioned, he was quoted to say bear in the woods. And you know that joke or that saying, does a bear, you know, poop, or shit? We need to use that word because I'm using the anagram. So in the woods, does a bear eat in the woods? That ended up showing me these: behead, hoist as town riots. Another anagram for does a bear shit in the woods is AI downside bathes shooter. So is that like the person who got the vaccine shooter, or AI downside breathe hoots? And I just wanted to happen to know to look at hoots because, you know, Hoot the owl is quite a big symbol for the cabal. But shows the little owl, directed by Will Schreiner. Will Schreiner can be looked at as RR line wish, or bloodline. Is that like a bloodline wish? A case, a box. And that's funny because remember that big old box the other day at that inauguration? Remember that little scene, you guys, on the 20th? This movie also starred Luke Wilson. And remember, the movies and stuff, they're huge content providers, just like Disney. Huge content providers that give you signs that you're supposed to look at and pay attention to. Luke Wilson can be seen as LKW Illusion, and LKW is Pyramid Electrical Grid and Your Father, and we've gone over Your Father quite a bit. The ABBA, and the Luke Wilson, the UL equals temple, remember? So there's UL, look at the numbers associated with that, and temple is 71, which if you flip it around, that's 17, which is NWO spelled out. But back to Will Schreiner and the RR line wish. Remember the other trains that were used? Remember that? Remember those lines? But going back to this bear thing, and the reason why I'm showing this, they basically said that the bear thing was like an inside joke. But here we've got two bears with a V. Remember, V equals 22 equals MAGA. With the fish, fish means panic, as in Captain Hook and Codfish, code panic. But the word puck that they use in this picture, puck equals those numbers, and it equals mother, agreement, ping pong, hostile, coup d'etat, 918, crown, cards, king, triangle, pyramid. I mean, it kind of doesn't stop. So look, I looked at there's a coup d'etat here, spelled wrong, but they coup d'etat coated or Tau code, and a coup d'etat is a removal of an existing government from power, usually through violent means, typically an illegal, unconstitutional seizure of power by a political faction, the military, or a dictator. Also, this is interesting. It says many scholars consider a coup d'etat successful when the upsurers seize and hold power for at least 7 days. A coup attempt may refer to a coup in the works or an unsuccessful coup. Okay, kids, here's a fun one. So, does a bear shit in the woods? Seaboard, E-host, White House sedition. WH sedition. And for those who don't know, sedition is overt conduct such as speech and organization that tends towards rebellion against the established order. Sedition often includes subversion of a constitution and incitement of discontent towards a rebellion against established authority. But sedition only, I guess, makes sense. It says incitement of resistance to or insurrection against lawful authority. Lawful. Sorry about the wind, you guys. The Satanists are doing their little wind ritual today, so I have to put up with that. But so sedition. Seaboard, E-host, White House, sedition. That's why I'm thinking the WH is. This is why I picked the word seaboard out of many other options. This is interesting. I looked at this Seaboard Corporation Transcontinental Capital TCC. It's a huge floating barge. Look at that. Dominican Republic 99999. Phone number. Look at the phone number. The very last three letters. Numbers, sorry. 101. That's I can't breathe. So this little barge is the first power producer that was independent in the Dominican Republic at the time. At the time, it was only 40 megawatts. Transcontinental Capital Corporation electric power generating facility in the Dominican Republic consists of a system of diesel engines mounted on a floating barge with capacity of approximately 108 megawatts. So I looked up 108 megawatts, and look at that, Kamini, January 14. 14's dead, remember? 14 means dead, but they just say, what will happen when Kamini dies? They're acting like either he or Trump gave each other a death sentence. They're acting like he's calling Jews these naughty words. They act like they're, look at that corpse, they act like they're all against each other. Look, IRGC, coup d'etat. You guys remember when I mentioned the Capitol Hill? Till a Caliph, Capitol Hill, that's the anagram. Because if we look at that, it kind of equaled a QI nab or IQ nab. Well, look what I just saw. So this is in the MiddleEastEye.net. Big story, New York Times, Caliphate debacle, deeper problems. But look at MEE. Remember the E's I showed? And look at that plug, that middle E. If you look at the dark part facing to the left, it looks like it could be a plug-in, right? Like a electrical plug. So I'm sorry for going all over the place, but I'm just now seeing this story. It looks like it's a France newspaper. Caliphate, I tell you, it is so windy out, you guys. How the New York Times Islamic State scoop unraveled. So January 15th, so the Caliphate podcast has revealed again that the paper needs to confront unpleasant truths about how it handles stories at the nexus of Islam, the Middle East, and terrorism. This reads, one of the most consequential U.S. media scandals in recent years ultimately ended with a whimper. After a 2-month internal investigation, the New York Times last month acknowledged that its blockbuster podcast, Caliphate, was based on a hoax. But what should have been an assessment of the deep-seated problems that led to this debacle left major issues unaddressed, perhaps because they required facing too many unpleasant truths about how the paper has handled stories at the nexus of Islam, the Middle East, and terrorism. Perhaps also because too many names on the newspaper's masthead were implicated in Caliphate's implosion. I have another theory. Just a quick glimpse at this article, Rules and Sins in Satanism. This states, no Satanist will accuse another of breaking a rule, for example. So just remember that. No Satanist will accuse another of breaking a rule. So maybe that's why New York Times last month acknowledged that its blockbuster podcast, Caliphate, was based on a hoax. And the scandals ended with a whimper. I'll leave you all this link because I think it's a little interesting to read this. This is just more psychological operations here. Look at the background. See how it says Peabody? Peabody equals obey pod. and pod equals China, but China is also the same word for chain. Obey, chain. Oh yes, and Middle East I with those E's and the electric plug looking thing, and the M is for mountaineer, but it's really for enumeration, which means they list everything. They record, track, trace, list everything. Middle East I. So there we go. Middle East I, dead list, MI. M is mountaineer, which means enumeration. So when we're looking at that Middle East I here, controlling everything, we're looking into some trouble, I think. Some dark skies are ahead, but okay, I'll get back to my main. I got off track here. Oh yeah, and the word times, by the way, as in New York Times, equals items. So if you don't think they're not part of the whole big old M thing, the whole enumeration thing, look at that. So Republic of the Philippines, 14th Congress, remember 14, I think I already mentioned this. So you know what these people did with America's help? Totally wiped out the indigenous people of East Timor. Maybe not totally, but killed millions, slaughtered millions of people. The Philippines, the military of the Philippines slaughtered East Timor's people. Genocide. The genocide is referred to as a pacification campaigns. When I did the anagram, Pacific Manscaping, iota, and when you look at iota just as a regular English interpretation, it's iota if you don't care one iota about something. So very small amount. Iota is the smallest letter of the Greek alphabet, and that's a very, very simple terms of it, because you could look at iota also. If you look at the Kabbalistic, it's place in the name of God. But iota was the 9th letter of the alphabet, and it also means dad and I. I can't help but thinking that word when you hear the Yoda, how they spell it with an H, makes me think of him. So the Empire Strikes Back. But these guys are wordsmiths, you guys. They play with the words and the meanings. But it also involves the word yod, suspended in mid-air. It says yod is the smallest of the Hebrew letters, the atom of the consonants, and the form from which all of the other letters begin and end. Remember that guy at the Operation Warp Speed, D-Day, the beginning of the end? But either way you slice it, pacification campaigns, Pacific Manscaping, iota. Like, they don't care about these people. They're going to wipe them out. They're going to use their hand to wipe them out and act like God. Because they can. Is that like ridding the world of poverty? You just kill them and then you don't have any poverty? And what's funny, look, East Timor genocide, the dark days of paradise. Really? Is that like a little bit pregnant? It's a bit of a oxymoron, isn't it? Dark days of paradise. So East Timor genocide, the dark days of paradise. I'm looking at the dark days of paradise, and that's irradiated rhapsody, KAFS, and that transliterated KAFS equals K, which equals AI. And we're back to that bear thing. That little saying, does a bear poop in the woods there? Beheaded hoist as town riots. And here's a little symbol that the bear, I guess, replaced because that was too offensive, but Moscow campaign to honor Red Army Reichstag flag. That's like a FF. And oh, look at that name too, Parfit. But this talks about he hoist the flag. So they use that word just to put a head on the end of that stick. And this little political cartoon happened to be 1904, which adds up to 14, which equals dead. Before I go on to my next little topic, Just remember Alice in Wonderland, walled in ordinance, walled in. And in a document that I've showed before, Defense Intelligence Agency, they talked, this was a screenshot from the actual document, well, the PDF document, but it's biological effects of electromagnetic radiation, and they talk about radio waves and microwaves, and this was, I guess, for the Eurasian communist countries. But here on the page 7, it's like a V and 2 1s. Where'd it go? I don't have the page, but that's what it is. V and 2 1s. In the yellow was actually highlighted. I didn't do that. But it says, if the more advanced nations of the West are strict in the enforcement of stringent exposure standards, there could be unfavorable effects in industrial output and military functions. The Eurasian communist countries could, on the other hand, give lip service to strict standards, but allow their military to operate without restrictions and thereby gain the advantage in electronic warfare techniques and the development of anti-personal applications. Anti-personal applications, that's basically using AI to be able to kill people. I will leave this link in. I've left this link in a lot of my videos. There's the authors, and they also, so basically almost every single organ that we have is affected by radio frequency. So people don't think that radio frequency is going to be a big deal for us and our health. They got another thing coming. Oh, and you want to talk about that. Remember that incident? I mean, remember that incident in Tiananmen Square where that man set himself on fire? Tiananmen Square means as men quarantine. So talk about Reichstag fires and a little predictive programming. And you know who always mentioned that country? Sorry for that interruption, you guys. I'm going to take off and stop this video because it's raining super hard. I've got to go batten down the hatches here. But interesting how this is so close to the National Center for Performing Arts. Okay, guys, keep your head on swivels. Well, not literally. Gosh, why did I say that? Okay, so it's still raining, but I'm going to give this really quick here. Speaking of this word right here, same thing as a F, what they call an F. And why I'm telling you about this, because this article was also in that whole group of that the library of stuff, and I'll send you this link too. But this talks about black swan events, and I wanted to see what the black swan, what that meant anagram wise, and I came up with KWN, cabal. So could that be like known cabal? I didn't know, but it's interesting because I just went to look at KWN, and it's King World News Archives, and here they talk about January 17th, 2021, and it says KWN, so King World News, the world will face a series of collapses in 2021. Let's see, so I don't know, I'm not going to read the rest of that, but it talks about series of collapses in 2021. And real quick, and I'll just leave you the link too if you want to read this. But it says the metaphor of black swan refers to unpredictable events such as that date, infamous date. We'll call it the worst winter because that's our Twin Towers. That happen from time to time and have enormous consequences. The phrase originated in medieval Europe during philosophical discourses, but had become widely known subsequent to the recent publication of Nassim Nichols Taleb's Epiphanes, whatever, bestseller, The Black Swan. They always look at literature. Do you see how important books and literature is to them? The impact of the highly improbable. Currently, civil engineers deal with the impact of extreme natural and man-made, accidental or malevolent, I think it's malevolent, intentional, hazards for critical facilities through a risk-based approach where risk is function of the likelihood of event occurrence and the resulting consequences. It says black swan events are not foreseeable by the usual statistics of correlation, regression, standard deviation, or return periods. Expert opinions are also of minimal use since their experiences are tainted by biases and constrained by finite human lifespan. So it says this inability to estimate the likelihood of occurrence for black swan events precludes the application of risk management. Therefore, the development of strategies to manage their consequences is of paramount importance. Where have we seen the paramount word? Paramount Films, whatever. Okay, this is my last interruption. When I look at black swan events, I saw CNN K wavetable. K is 106611. 11 spelled out, you know, is MAGA. 10 above there is CDC. Now K is also equivalent to AI and CDC. And there you go, AI, CDC. So which is it? And also the FDA, right? We all know about the FDA. Yep, we know about them. When we look at wave tables, we looked at the wave tables here. Length, attack, decay, sustain, release. ADSR. And look what they say here. So ADSR, envelope, attack, decay, sustain, release, accelerator-driven subcritical reactor. Music works in a Seattle, Washington store. Interesting how that name keeps popping up somehow. Anyhow, I'm not going to go all into this, but wavetables, again, these are frequencies. So you can create mind control or voice to skull with frequencies so people can start hearing things in their own heads. So be careful. Heads up, you guys. There's quite a number of articles on weaponizing weather using frequencies. You know, I want to go look at some of these. The objective here is to discuss some such past events of engineering relevance. That's because they love to go back on their little misdeeds and kind of replay it again. It's like their little rituals in their heads. It's like the perpetrator of a crime goes back to look at the damage he's done. Anyhow, I'm going to leave this for you too just because it's interesting. But it says management and strategies to cope with the potential or actual consequences of such unforeseen large impact, hard to prevent or predict events. The thing is though, we know that they're going to do something. They've caused all these things. They've caused the occurrences and chain reactions, Katrina, New Orleans. I mean, they've done all of this stuff. So the term black swan to describe unanticipated events has seeped into the public consciousness since the publication of The Black Swan. That's why they put out movies and books like that, you guys. So they can seep into the public consciousness. I mentioned, why do we underestimate black swan risks? So this is just a little bit of an interesting read. And of course they do more listing. It says, human nature is not programmed to imagine black swans. And they're right, because for the most part, people are good, except for these inbred bloodlines. They're not good. All right, anyhow, I'll let you guys read this. Oh wait, I just found one more little interesting part. It says silent evidence. Silent evidence refers to the difference between the sample one constructs for analysis and the actual reality, causing systematic error from ignoring evidence due to the manner of posing questions or biased sampling. I wonder if silent evidence also means little signs like that, little signs like this. Hey guys, since I'm having huge technical difficulties getting my video to actually just format and upload, I have some extra time to add some extra information that I've seen, and I want to see if you guys can just pay attention to this. When I showed this picture, look at the candles, look at the symbology here. We're going to look at this W, V, and M, and right under the M are fish, and fish means panic in the gematria code. So WVM, excuse my super crappy illustration here, but look, I just looked at this. So WVM, if you look at the WV there, it's 1 through 6, and 7 through 10 is M. And then look at these points. This also has 10 lines, the Baphomet head. So you've got from 1 to 2, you go, so you can make like a M. From there it goes to 5. From 1 to 5 is your M. Then if you make a V, it would be an upside down or sideways V, would be 5, 6, and 7. And then you make your M would be 7, 8, 9, 10, back to 1. I thought that was sort of weird. So looking at WVM, one interesting, here's one of the top things, not allowed to repent. But XRP is the top number for the 58. And you've got all these. And Frink, now look at Frink as RF, like Radio Frequencies Inc. And the ink is from octopi. And you know, they have 8 arms, so 8, that's infinity. But back to back to XRP, which is 58, simple gematria. 58 is also star, science, and Sonia, which Sonia is AI sun, if you look at the anagram, AI sun. Now, do you guys remember when I had that video that showed this Operation Warp Speed? This isn't the, this is, I think, the guy who was talking about Operation Warp Speed. You've got the Health and Human Services right there, you know, the 3 slashes there, the big E. Remember I showed you that? And this guy here was saying that this is D-Day, the beginning of the end. Now this article by Dan Diamond, also you guys, if you don't think that they're the cabal, what's up is down, you guys are pretty blinded. But here we go, we're gonna go look at Dan Diamond. So there's his name, and you know, Father and Papa, that's always being used in these freaks wordings. So you want to keep denying the fact that these guys are manipulating and doing psychological operations on you all in warfare? Just look at their names. January 17th. So 17 spelled out is NWO. But this is an article that they just recently did, and they talk about born as a second Manhattan Project. So they're talking about Operation Warp Speed, again, D-Day, beginning of the end. And here was on December 23rd, the beginning of the end for Ripple and XRP, as Coinbase considers its options. So XRP says Ripple's XRP, currently the 4th biggest cryptocurrency by value according to CoinMarketCap, is fighting for its life. XRP, the digital token controlled by the San Francisco-based company Ripple, has lost half its value in the last 24 hours, going into free fall after the US. Now quickly, I just looked at Ripple. Here's the number 76. So Ripple, Naughty Game, Pelosi, Friends, Tehran, The Plan, The Mark, Apple Card, and Times, which Times is also items. When I look at the anagrams for Ripple, it could be L Piper, P Peril, and P equals Biden. Now, L Piper got my interest because of all the pipeline projects going on, but also L. Look, so L, the values 20, 72, and 12, and I thought this was interesting. L, but look at all the views that has. Searches, 7,246. So why is this so popular? L is also representative for caged, and L and December also have the same simple gematria value of 12. So just a quick search of Piper. I saw Piper aircraft, and there's your triangle. And looking very quickly, let's look at the word Beechcraft first. So Beechcraft can be FCCE breathe, and breathe can be hater, and heart is hater. So there's be heart, be hater. Let's look at the symbols here for the FCC. This is a .gov, it says. Federal Communications, we already saw communications, what that means, communistic or communications. So we're going to look at this, and here's the Shriners upside down. Okay, so here's the Shriners logo. Flip it upside down. Here's the FCC upside down, and I'm going to be showing you this pretty soon. Look at the FCC when you put it together. That looks like it could be a little hoot owl, doesn't it? So the FCC, the little FCC e-breathe Beechcraft, be hater, heart hater, FCC.gov people here, they were formed in 1934. So there's June 19, so that could be 619. 619 can be the Dragon Brotherhood, and 619 just happens to be the area code in San Diego where that Ashley Babbitt lived. And you look at the 1934, so 9 plus 1 is 10, 3 plus 4 is 7, that's 10, 7, 17, you spell that out, 17 equals New World Order in gematria. It states the big three, which I think I showed the big three and the big E kind of are the same to me. And they always love putting little stories with things, stories or music bands or movies. But here, Piper, this says, Piper tells the story of a hungry sandpiper hatchling who ventures from her nest for the first time to dig for food by the shoreline. The only problem is the food is buried beneath the sand where scary waves roll up onto the shore. And we look at the VWM that makes those little waves, which is XRP, which can be looked at as ripple, whatever. Look when you organize the waves, what they could be. Back to looking at the big three and the big E, it reminded me of the big E also. When we put the E and E together, it looks like an 8. That would be infinity, which is 8 is October, like inky is 8. And there's the big 3. It looks like a little butterfly. And how many times have we seen the butterfly as a symbol for monarch? And what I found interesting here, let me go to the better place. We see Piper warranty, and you can look at the word Warren in there, like rabbit, like Watership down, like Warren Buffett. What opened my eyes also here regarding the Piper aircraft, it states it's owned since 2009 by the government of Brunei, Abode of Peace. is a country located on the north coast of the island of Borneo of Southeast Asia near the China Sea. There's Malaysia. Just to give you perspective, there's Taiwan. Java, like JavaScript. There's Indonesia. But surrounded by the insular Malaysian state of Sarawak. So an insular situation in a powerful marine guarding it in a great measure against the possibility of foreign invasion, superseding the necessity of numerous army within the kingdom. But Sarawak, a ask war. So go ask Alice, is that a ask war? And I looked at this, so Cass, so that would be Cass war. And it talks about Roberts, one of the founders of Cass. Over a past decade, Robert has developed the behavior change formula known as the Ask methodology. The powers Cass software platform Ringo Rang, collaborating with behavioral scientists, universities, and national laboratories. Go ask Alice. And also, guess what? So Brunei is apparently very independent Islamic sultanate. It's very well-to-do. Brunei is a pint-sized and fabulously wealthy, oil-rich sultanate. Population is devoutly Muslim. So this here is the Sultan of Brunei, and it says that he's the richest, one of the richest people in the world, and the people there are leading a financially stable life and enjoy a tax-free living. Wouldn't that be nice? And here it talks about the Sultanate is rich in oil and natural gas. Maybe that's why they don't want free energy, because they are kind of reliant on people needing the oil and gas. This guy's got 7,000 vehicles. He owns his own 747. Now, who does that remind you of? This room with gold plated everything. This is just one apartment from Donald Trump. This guy spent $21,000 on a haircut, and he lives in a palace with 1,788 rooms. That's 1,788. So there's your 17, your New World Order, and the 88, which is Trump. But anyhow, he lost his crown to Microsoft founder Bill Gates late in the 90s. And one reason why I'm showing this is, look at this, the flag and the emblem there. So you see any similarities at all between that and this? This is the Shriners logo here. See, look at that. The Shriners logo with the star there, remember? You see any similarities? Look at the little wings on top that looks like it could be an M. Look at the little wing things on top there. It looks like it could be an M. You've got the half moon but flipped on the other side up. Shriners. So XRP, free fall. Also talk about big three. Look at the Q flag there. Do you see the big three stripes also? So Brunei's the B ruin. I mean, that could be E Bruin or B ruin, but also look at Bruin, bear sense. Bruin, name of the bear in history, Dutch. And when you look at all these symbols, remember the psychological warfare? Remember they say you show symbols, and they use symbols for a lot of their repetitive mind control. Look at, so see the little star thing? Let me see. Let me show you this little design right there. The little angel wings, of those wings. It's like a little mustache look. Look at this same little thing here, the same little design. And you have the same thing here. I mean, it's very repetitive. This is the Shriners right here. So you've got this. They also have this little arch. They've got a little dippy arch thing. You've got the half circle here, half moon. You got a little arch here, but I don't know if that really means anything, but I know this is a V. Here you've got your moon, you've got your star, you've got those 10 points that I was showing earlier that looks like the Baphomet, if you turn that upside down. Now looking back at this little shoddy illustration I have of these waves, the WVM, and how it can all come together to look like the Baphomet. But look at, so like those could be what sine waves. So here's some pictures of sine waves. And here's sine waves is a continuous wave. Sine wave is a mathematical curve that describes a smooth periodic oscillation. So a curve, you want to flatten that curve. So these can be made into a continuous waves. And you want to go look at some sine waves. So sine waves, seismic waves produced from earthquakes contain sine waves and many different frequencies. That's the USGS's logo there. You see the three white bars there? The big three, our big E. Okay, so talk about really wealthy people. We saw the Sultan guy here, Bolkai, and talk about being the Prime Minister of Brunei. Look at that. So Bruin is bear. Bruin I, it's like an I Bruin, like Bruin storm I. Sorry, I'm just getting so disgusted, you guys. But so you got the throne there. You got queens mentioned. You got reigning monarchs. Don't forget the word father. You got to have that. And also, so you got the Royal Navy, and he's the Supreme Commander of the Royal Brunei Armed Forces. Brunei. And like his father, he's been knighted by Queen Elizabeth of the United Kingdom. In 2014, he adopted Islamic Sharia penalties, including that adultery is to be punished with death by stoning. You can't wear any hats or clothes that resemble Santa Claus. He also has a death penalty for gays. Then you had this woman that in 1997 talked about this guy's brother, that she said that she was held as a virtual prisoner, drugged and sexually abused. And let's see, it talks about the fact that after 18 months of litigation, they dismissed the suit because he has sovereign immunity as head of state. So this kind of overall power, this is what these laws are going to be bringing. And if you don't think we need to worry about it, just remember, look at that, the never ending. There's the little sine waves there. There's the W, the V. Actually, there's two W's there. Flip that upside down. There's the snake eating its tail. It's a non-ending wave. And remember, talk about the father reign and the Capitol Hill incident, Tila Khalif. Remember the wall? It's lethal W. So I want to touch on this father. There's bringing up the word father a lot. And here I saw Abba sine. So is that the sine wave also? But sine to rinse or wash out. And this kind of takes me back to the rabbit, the white rabbit, because rabbits live in warrens, and it reminds me a little bit of Warren Buffett. And I'm looking at this Alibaba group because it can be AI, El Abba, that's father, and we all know what AI is. And here's a story that might interest some of us. So here's Berkshire Hathaway Company. It's the Alibaba Group announces wide-ranging deal with Kobe Inc. That's a long time ago, Kobe. So this is August 3rd, 2015. This says, collaboration includes the launch of Kobe Bryant's latest video narrative and creation and exclusive distribution of Kobe branded products in China. Okay, so sorry about the jumping around. The Berkshire, let's look at Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, so we're going to keep talking about this nonsense genre we've got going on here. And so I'm going to go over and look here. Speaking of rabbits, and this takes me to the book Watership Down by Richard Adams. And I'm just going to read some of this to you all. So Watership Down is an adventure novel in southern England around Hampshire, and the story features a small group of rabbits. Although they live in their natural wild environment with burrows, also called warrens, they are anthropomorphized, possessing their own culture, language, proverbs, poetry, and mythology, evoking epic themes, and the novel follows the rabbits as they escape the destruction of their warren and seek a place to establish a new home, the Hill of Watership Down. We can look at Watership Down as a WW death prison. And for some reason, when I think of rabbits and warrens and death prisons, and there's the Buffett, and Berkshire Hathaway, and waves also, Berkshire Hathaway's anagram can be a W high-by earth shaker, or it can also be thereby Sharia hawk, up there with all those other people who have lots of money. And I don't mind people having lots of money, but what are they doing with it? In 2008, Warren Buffett, he became the wealthiest person in the world for the first time, with a net worth of around $60 billion. So he lost the place in 2009 to Bill Gates, who was the richest man in the world before Warren. So talking about waves, there's Business Wire is a Berkshire Hathaway company, and they talk this about Alibaba Group announces a wide-ranging deal with Kobe Incorporated. So this Alibaba Group was going to work with Kobe to create a series of Kobe branded products to distribute them through Alibaba's group deals with his access to China and the consumers there. And so we're talking about a big marketplace. I also looked and saw this little rabbit warren layout. Little trains dodge in and out of tunnels like rabbits in a warren. The rabbit warren layout is a model railway layout. Remember that RR from that guy that did Hoots, that Will Schreiner? RR, rabbit warrens, trains, tunnels. I don't know. I just can't stop thinking that there's some kind of, well, I can stop thinking, but it's easy to see how there is some connection between this Watership Down story and all the parables and Warren Buffett. Like, what are you going to eat? A bunch of rabbits? Because remember Operation Warp Speed, Sea Power Predation, that could be Navy. Predation, we saw that, and also there's that. So liquidity on demand. Also, Watership Down has the word predation in it. Oh wait, maybe this is why I can put all the death stuff together, and Warren Buffett like eating all the rabbits, which would be us. All these guys, these are huge landowners, by the way, at least Jeff Bezos is. This little article here reads, Haven, an ambitious healthcare company formed just 3 years ago as a partnership between Amazon, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, and JP Morgan Chase is shutting down. Now, why do all those people have a healthcare company? That's kind of weird. Oh, now I know. So Berkshire disclosed in November that it bought shares of COVID vaccine developer and big pharma leader Pfizer in the third quarter. Buffett's firm also invested in AbbVie, like Abba for dad, remember our father, Bristol Myers, Squibb, and Merck. See, so now they're into the vaccinations. So when you have all these people, and I'm making a little jump here, but when you have all these people, these XRP people, and Operation Warp Speed, all saying it's the beginning of the end, and you see them pushing the vaccines and all that, and you talk about earth shakers, and then you talk about Sharia, thereby Sharia hawk, and you have all these little ridiculous charades that go on. It's a distraction, you guys. You know what? Also, all the vaccine talk and all that, I think, is a distraction from the 5G. Have you heard anything about 5G going on? No, they don't put it in their news media feed because that's not what they want us to look at. We better start looking at 5G. Father, right? The hand, the big hand. All right, guys. Bye.